Okay, today we talk about African violet chimeras. Okay, I made a flower chart, and by the way, today is all hands-on. I'm not going to use computers, so everything is show and tell, and then I will show you how to deal with these chimeras later. Okay, this is what's currently in bloom that I collected flowers from. In the African violets world, the majority of the chimeras that's with the stripes on the flowers. Okay. Now, there are also miniature chimeras and trailing chimeras. Then we have different kind of chimeras. These are called leaf chimeras, like this one. That is Harmony Little Stinker. That's one of the, you can see the stripes is actually among the leaves. And this is Lucky Penny. And by the way, this is the first of this kind of leaf chimeras. And it was registered in 1997. And this one is a trailer. It's actually Pearl Joy. That's actually a sport of our trailer. Rob's Boolaroo. Yeah, and that's also a leaf chimera, but it's a trailer. And then here's another kind of chimera. This is a girl foliage. Nothing special, right? But it cannot propagate by leaf cuttings. The leaf cuttings won't show the girl foliage. So it has to propagate by crown cuttings. Okay, that's something we're going to talk about later. All right, so you're going to say, well, then chimera, isn't the chimeras all have stripes? Well, yes and no. This one, this is a case simply put. It looks stripy, right? Has stripes. It's actually not. It's kind of a thumbprint. This one's a regular standard. Okay, so you're gonna say, okay, now what's definition? Why we call it chimera? All right. Now I have to talk about a little bit about history. Back in the old days, that the violets are more single color, and then gradually they start have mutations, like double flowers or pink flowers or white flowers. And some are the result of hybridizing, and then variegation. That's also a mutation. And then probably about mid 1970s. Granger Garden that they have some, I don't know, they're hybrids or they're mutations, that I don't know. One is called, the first two are Desert Dawn and Valencia. He had a hard time propagated by leaf cuttings. And back then, AVSA only allowed registration to happen if you can propagate and have the result of 65% or more success rate. And he can't get it to do leaf cuttings. And I have to mention this one person that I think that he should be on the history book of FVSA is Charles Applegate. He was the senior gardener at the Kingwood Garden in Mansfield, Ohio. He specialized daylilies. He hybridized a lot of good daylilies back then. So he's very reputable. Even today, if you visit Kingwood Garden, you'll still see daylilies that bred by him. One year, we were at the Ohio State African Violets Convention, and I have some chimeras there. So he told me that the first couple chimeras that Granger Garden had, that he had a problem propagating things, and so he suggested Hugh to propagate by crown cuttings, which he did and successful. Since then, the Granger Garden was able to propagate chimeras by crown cuttings. So eventually, AVSA changed the rule that allowed that chimeras being registered, but also that required that when you propagate them by crown cuttings, it gotta have 60% of successful, 65% or more successful rate. True to the money when I say successful rate. Okay. Now, you're gonna ask, how do these chimera happen? Are they hybrids or how do they being created? Well, as far as my personal experience, and I ask around, for example, we showed you earlier this Rob's Fifi and Rob's Humpty Doo. These are very few actual hybrids that they bred this way, but it just locked. And Rob has another miniature that was hybrid, not a mutation, which is Rob's Swizzle Stick. But everything else that we're going to talk about today, that what I'm going to show you today, they are all mutations. So, okay. Now the next question is, what kind of plants tend to sport to chimeras? Well, anything could be. But if you see a plant with multiple colors, like this one, this is Rainbow's Quiet Riot. Well, then eventually you propagate the leaves frequent enough, eventually you may have some sports. Which, right here,
Alrighty.
this flower and this flower. This is, oh sorry, I blocked you. This one is Rainbow's Regal Riot, and this one is Rainbow's Crystal Riot. Even though we say Chimera, require different kind of propagating than leaf cuttings, that crown cuttings, or later I will explain flower stems. But sometimes, and most of the time, like these are really nice fantasy flowers. Not except that one. Specifically these four. This is a Russian hybrid. It's called Snow Edelweiss. And forgive me if you see the neck. This is my stock, very old stock plant. It's about to get hacked off. And this one is another Russian. This is a PM Pavlina. And this one is, Regal Crest. And this one is Live Wire. Two of Lions and two Russians. This one, nothing special, right? But you see the lighter center and then the frill edges. These five are among those varieties that I actually propagate by crown cuttings. I still do leaves, but the leaves is just because I don't want to waste the leaves. The major way of propagating these actually were by crown cuttings. Sometimes if I have enough flower stem, or when I have time, I will actually do flower stem as well. Why? Well, you see how complicated the flowers color are? And then like this, when you want to buy these kind of plants, it's been fantasy. When you see these kind of speckles and whatever, it is hard to keep all those speckles by leaf cuttings. They somehow will vary a little bit here and there. And I like to have something that's really, if it's really this good, I like to have all the plants or almost all the plants that we sell are this good. So that's why I actually propagate them just like the chimeras. This one though, excuse me, but this plant, I don't think, how to say that, it's not very complicated, but when I do leaf cuttings, there's like about half of them were just solid, like the darker color on the edges, it's just solid color. So in order to show this lighter inside, I still choose to do crown cuttings. So that just, the chimera is a term, and also is a way. Okay. Here is Frozen in Time. Okay, look closer. This is an exceptionally good version of Frozen in Time. Do you see the edges? That they have some, like a feather pattern to it? This is by far my favorite plant. And this, well, frozen in time, you can propagate it, and the majority are true with the green edges because the description is green edges. But with this kind of feathery pattern, that is not going to show every time if you do leaf cutting. So this one, if I want this version, I actually propagate by crown cuttings again. Oh, and by the way, you want to know this. This plant started to flower. This is in the 4-inch pot. It was the show plant that we did for our open house, but it just started to open. The flower just started to open at last year's. That's October 5th and 6th. Early October, and I haven't even taken out a dead flower stem. There's a couple like on the bottom, you can see a little bit, but it's been blooming since then. All right, so now we know that these plants can, certain kind of trait that we can probably have seen mutations. Well, the way that we do propagating, we have 3 different ways, I would say. One is you let it sucker, naturally sucker, and you root the sucker. And number 2 is you force it to sucker, which means crown cuttings. And the third way is flower stem. And I'm going to show you all 3 ways. I am going to cut off this one. You can see that there's a very old plant. I probably should repot it. As a matter of fact, I will cut the crown off and then I will repot this afterwards, just so that it's not in the old soil. Okay. This is my tool, and for cutting the crowns, I use this. Make sure it's very sharp, and don't cut yourself. Okay. And this is I always consider it's like almost like doing surgery. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit slightly so you can see. Okay, first find where you're gonna cut. Okay, and the motion is almost like a V cut, and sometimes 3-sided V, V, V. Okay, 3-sided V, because the crown usually have 3 points. Okay, can you see? Let me see. Let me go further a little bit. Okay, so here's. Okay, cut it. Okay, and I can take the flower off. Yeah, I just poked myself a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's your cut. All right, and make it. I'm going to remove a little bit leaves. I actually will remove 1 more leaf. And be careful when you remove it. You want to hold the plant so that you don't accidentally pull the crowns to like debris. Okay, it's firm, and I always say it feels like a cupcake, kind of firm. Okay, now I have a pencil. It's a perfect length, short enough so I can poke a hole. I poke a hole, and then I lost my tweezer in the front counter, but that's okay. I can use this. I usually use tweezers. Yeah, earlier I was collecting the flowers of the chimeras, and I left my tweezer where I went. I usually use a tweezer to help, but this will work. the whole point is your hole shouldn't be too deep. And it's only deep enough that you can put your sucker in or crown in. And your crown shouldn't be in too deep, but should be deep enough that you can firm the soil. And you see that? It doesn't flap. It doesn't go anywhere. Okay. And then
it was pre-moistened soil.
I said that. Yeah. Robert's reminding me to say pre-moist soil. Yeah, I remember I said the soil was already pre-moist. Yeah. And we always said if without roots, you water the soil before you do anything. If you have roots to plant in, then you water afterwards. And the amount of water should be just right, not too wet, but it's moist enough that the plant will sit here for 3 weeks without getting water again. And you can put it in the bag. So, okay, well, you can't see here. Okay, how about here? Can you see? Okay, all right, here we go. And this one, when after I repot it, I will chop some of the leaves so that it doesn't take up a lot of spaces. All right. Okay, now okay, this one that already has a big plant, and unfortunately a lot of time when I do the crown cuttings, the crowns, I wish every one come out like this, so even, but sometimes it doesn't. Like this one has one big one and one little one. So this is easy. When you can harvest it. Has a little bit of roots on it. Oh, I really need my tweezers. Okay, Rob is getting me my tweezers. I wish I have another pair here. Okay, tweezers. This is my right hand. I can't work with plants without tweezers. All right, there we go. And the same thing, we can put in the bag. However, I have a tray waiting for this plant right there. Yeah. So that's what the commercial do. So what you can do is you don't have to cut when they're young. You can actually cut a 4-inch plant and then let it go wild like this, and then you can divide them as you feel more comfortable. You don't have to cut crowns. Well, this one, it just because last time when I deal with it, I forgot about it. And so I let it go, and then it became like this. So this I will separate them as like a potting, you know. And you can tell that this is the 2 very old leaves still there. And this was done probably early 2024. Okay, now before we go on the flower stem, I want to show you something. These okay. These two are mutation of Ma's Bikini Atoll. Bikini Atoll doesn't have that white edge. It's white with a fantasy edge. But look at this. It's very nice, kind of a thick edges, and only probably probably can only propagate by crown cuttings, which I would try. And this one is a center stripe. Yeah. So these two, they just started probably late fall last year, and I'm still letting them grow out to see that if they are truly going to stay this way. And that's number one. We're going to see if they're truly going to stay this way. And then number two is we're going to root the flowers and then grow the plants or root the crown, and then we go from there. And these are brand new mutations. And here's a standard. This is AE Chimera of Destiny. And nothing to do with the chimera. The leaves supposed to be green, but look at that. So I'm gonna work on this, see if I can get a standard kind of a lucky foliage. All right, this is happened multiple times for me, but this is the first time it's really showing the stripes in the edges. This is actually from Ma's Message from Mars. Message from Mars supposed to be dark foliage, red flower. So earlier we said that what kind of thing that can mutate? Well, this can mutate too. All right, now this was from Ma's Spanish Eyes. And Ma's Spanish Eyes was actually from Ma's Piñata. And Piñata had mutated all kinds of different Chimera version. But this is the new one. And I'm going to propagate this one. And today I'm going to use the flower stain so that I can show you how the flower stain is going to be. Okay. First, I take all the flower stain off. Okay. Now, as you can see that we have this bracket here. This is where, right here, where this stem that coming out, this area, that will be the future sprouts coming out. So, first I'm going to remove these things, these little stems. And be careful not to cut the bracket out. You want those two little leaves. Okay. And cut about like an inch long. Okay. Then again, the soil. Want to flat the soil and pre-moist. This is the same potting soil that we use. It has about 50% of vermiculite in there, and then about 10% of perlite, and the rest of it are pro-mist. You want the soil firm. You want to have a little bit of resistance. Okay, and then I'm going to put these flower stems in. I'm holding with the tweezer and flush at the end, just holding, not pinching, just like that, and pull it in. If you're not comfortable with this method, because it's very difficult to hold the flower stem without pinching, and especially when you push it in, then what you can do is pre-hole. You can make a hole and then put in. Make another hole. Put it in. I like to just put directly in because I'm so used to this. Okay. About right at the soil level. All right. And of course we're going to put a label on. This one, I don't have a label yet. I will print it later, so I'm just gonna show this. I'm just gonna put it in the bag for now. There, and of course put a either a tag or a label or whatever telling. I will indicate who that is. You know, this is a sport of Mas Spanish Ice and what kind of community it is, and the date. It will stay under dome, under cover, or in the bag for at least 6 weeks. A lot of time, probably even longer than that, until I see some sprouts, and then I can take it out and then water as normal.